Hey guys, welcome back to the Soulful Wanderings podcast. I'm so glad you've joined us this week. As you know, my name is Heather. I'm your host, and I'm super excited because I have a very special guest this week. Her name is CeCe Credeur, and she actually has a business called Insight with CeCe, and she does what's called quantum hypnosis. And I know what you're thinking. What is all this? I came across CeCe because of a friend of mine who had done a past life regression with her and came back raving about all the things she had learned and done and all the things. And so I immediately wanted to do one. And then, of course, waited for like 6 months because I didn't have time. And, yeah. So, anyway, so then I did one. And oh my God, then I understood. So I wanted CeCe to come today, and she just knows so much. There's so much we can talk about. There's so much we can learn. And I just wanted to dive into this because it is amazing and fun. So, hi, CeCe.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be able to talk about what it is I do and
Oh,
talk about your session too, which was so fun and excitable and weird and so interesting.
I know. I think about it sometimes, and when I think back on it, I think, was it normal? Is this what everybody does? Am I weird like I always am, or I don't know. That's just one of those things. So how about, okay, let's start at the beginning maybe. Would you rather start talking about kind of what the business is, or maybe you should talk a little bit about kind of how you got there? Maybe tell us a little bit about your journey.
Of course, thank you. So I didn't really dive into this until I went through my own personal traumatic events. The loss of very important people in my life kind of got me to a point where I was like really lost. And I had all this information, but couldn't figure out how to put it like the puzzle pieces in the right spots. So it was a lot of chaos and a lot of confusion when it came to my faith, my spirituality. And I had a very close coworker who we'd speak a few minutes every day after work just about the idea of having past lives, of her son remembering his, and that jump starting her interest in it. And so one day she gifted me a book that was written by one of these quantum hypnotherapists. And it was like suddenly all the pieces found their spot. And like this remembering started to occur in me. Like suddenly, yeah, I know this. I knew this, but I had to almost be reminded. I'd been asleep for so long. Um, and so then I eventually found Dolores Cannon's books and could not stop consuming it. I can remember when I first read one of her books thinking, my goodness, this sounds so fictitious. But then again, it all makes total sense because everything else I've ever thought didn't quite align. I became obsessed with her work and decided that I was going to do the training for quantum healing hypnosis technique, QHHT. And with my background in psychology and education, this was like right up my alley. So that's where I started. And it really wasn't to create a business by any means. It was simply just to do this work and discover information on my own and offer people journeys that they can't get anywhere else or through anything else. And so that's kind of how it started for me.
Wow. So I'm going to ask you, do you find, so you started it kind of because of the things you had been through. Do you find that doing work on yourself is harder than doing it on other people? Because I find because my modality that I usually use is theta. And so I can do this with other people all day long, just
Yeah.
all day long. But when it comes to me,
Yes.
I get, I get so stuck and sort of tripped up. And I don't know if it's my ego coming into play or what it is, but I struggle with that.
Same. Oh yeah, I can definitely do meditations, hypnosis with other people. And I've tried on myself many times and it does work to an extent, but the ego does want to step in and go, no, 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 you know what comes next. You're going to predict what it, and I begin to try to control this situation, or at least my ego does. Um, So I do find that it's easier for me to let go fully when I'm working with somebody else, like they're working on me,
Yeah.
doing, energy work or whatever it might be. It's easier for me to let go because I can't predict what's next.
Right. I find myself doing that I'm going, well, wait, isn't this what's coming next? And well, no, that's why you're doing this is to find out. So yeah, okay, I'm just glad to know that I'm not the only one. I hear other people say the same thing. So
Yeah.
I find out every time I know somebody that does this, I ask them the same question.
Yes, and that's why it's so important for all of us to work with each other because we do have those blockages and we do have the ego, unfortunately. So being able to use each other's gifts and skills will help us push past those boundaries that we set for ourselves.
Yes, yes. Oh my goodness, so true. Um, so you got into this. I know you do. I mean, we called it a past life regression. I guess that's technically what we did, right?
Yes.
Um, but I guess we were using quantum hypnosis to do that. Is that accurate?
Mhm. Yes,
Okay.
so past life regressions is it's simply just a regression therapy. But quantum hypnosis can be used for multiple things. I've kind of transformed this type of work to fit appropriate audiences. So what is the focus here? Because ultimately, when we're doing any kind of hypnosis, we're doing subconscious reprogramming. And so it's a matter of targeting what is the specific thing that we want to focus on in our healing and allowing the mind to actually do it itself on an energetic level and a mental level. And I'm just the facilitator that guides the person through their own healing. So, a past life regression is just one of the tools, one of the techniques that can help somebody reprogram on a subconscious level, but also discover parts about themselves from the past that are affecting them still in this present moment, in this lifetime because as we know, time isn't even real,
Oh, I know.
which is a whole nother topic.
I was going
But
to say a whole different conversation.
yes, yeah,
Yeah, and that's so interesting because okay, I love this because the more you look at the different modalities that people use to heal or to help people, we're all doing the same thing. We're all facilitators. We're, because with Theta, I work with Creator tells me what to do. I'm not really doing
yes.
anything, just doing what he says. But I find it so interesting that we all have it within ourselves to heal ourselves. We just have to be, I guess, somehow made aware of what the problem is first so that we know
Yeah.
to even try. And so I love that. I just love that it's all connected, that at the end of the day it's all connected.
Yes, and which is something that you had a beautiful discovery of in your regression, the connectedness of it all. And recently I had a beautiful experience like that too. And I just kept saying, I can see it. I can see the connectedness of everything. And I feel like I'm getting a peek behind the curtain. And it's so hard for words to articulate the extent of it when you finally like feel it. You can know these things, you can understand these things, but to actually see it, experience it, and connect with it is a totally different thing.
It so is, and we're going to get into more of what happened in my regression, but I remember in that moment, and I've tried to explain to people what I saw. And I remember in that moment being aware of the fact that I couldn't articulate what I was seeing to you. You're facilitating this. I'm basically under trying to explain what I'm seeing. Again, we're going to get into this in a second, but I remember then being like, I don't know how to explain it. I don't know how to say what it feels like and what I'm really seeing. And I've tried to explain it to other people, and people kind of in this world that understand what we're doing a little more, they've been, they go, "Oh," and they get it. They get that it was neat, and they get that
Mhm.
I can't explain it. But
Yes.
but it's very frustrating at times that I can't. It's like I wish I could sort of touch you and let you feel what I felt,
Yeah.
and so that part of it is remarkably frustrating because I think if people could see that and could feel that, it could help them along in their journey to know, look, this is not crazy. Just come on,
Yes.
just come
It's
try it.
Yeah, and it's just you. And that's what I try to explain to people who don't understand this work. And I get it. If I would have never delved into it, I would have not understood it either. But you're essentially working with yourself. It's all you. All healing is self-healing. That's my favorite phrase to use. But essentially you're doing the work and I'm just facilitating with questions and with guidance based on what you're experiencing.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so maybe we should kind of explain how, in particular, a past life regression, since that's the thing that we're using in this conversation. Maybe just kind of take us through sort of what happens, like what we did, how you got
Okay.
me settled, all the things that you did.
Oh,
Um, and kind of take us through the steps of because if somebody wanted to do this, I feel like sometimes they don't because there's a fear of I don't understand what's going to happen,
right.
and so I am perfectly willing to be the example of, it's not scary, y'all. It was really cool. Actually, it was really fun.
Good.
So,
Yeah.
so maybe kind of take us through the steps of what we do or what you do in
Okay.
one of these sessions.
So typically in a past life regression session, we start with an interview. What brought you here? What are your curiosities? What do you want to find out through yourself, basically? So I always ask my clients to bring a list of questions, and these questions can be anything under the sun. And this is what makes quantum healing so exciting is we can access answers to anything and everything. Things that I didn't even think we could obtain in this lifetime. I've been presented with, and it's been life changing and so healing in ways I couldn't have imagined. So I asked the clients to bring in questions. What are you curious about? What, if you had the answer to, could shift your whole life? What would you want to know? And so we spend a lot of time speaking. And this is the part of the session where the higher self starts to tune in. So, in this type of hypnosis, the idea is to connect the person with their subconscious mind, or AKA their higher self, which essentially is just the extension of the person. So, during the interview, we are bringing the subconscious mind into alert. And typically, what the person's going to talk about in their interview are the things that their higher self is ready for them to see. So, when we're having conversations, a lot of the times the client's like, I don't know why I brought that up. I don't know why I would tell you this. And it's not because of anything I'm doing, it's the higher self prepping you for what's about to come in the session itself. So the interview is a very important part because your higher self is playing a part. Your subconscious mind is coming online and um, prepping you. So I always say it just brings the things to the surface that you're ready to face. And sometimes those are childhood memories and traumas, difficulties from adult life, anything. And then we do the actual hypnosis session. And this is where the wild ride actually takes place. And this is about 2 hours. I'm not sure people understand that when they're committing to this type of work, it's extensive, it takes a lot of time, but it is one of the most powerful things you can encounter. And so the session is really just a matter of the body relaxing, the person's mind and ego relaxing, and letting the subconscious mind lead the way. And so, one of the greatest things about this, and I love to talk about imagination because your imagination is not just the thing you create. Because we're all connected, nothing comes from scratch. So, your imagination is actually the language of the quantum realm, the energetic realm. It's symbols, it's past memories, it's ancient knowledge, it's records that we're reliving and remembering, but we think that, oh, I'm just making this up. So when we're doing hypnosis, a lot of the times people are like, I feel like I'm making this up. I feel like I'm making this up. Yes, because it's the first time you're encountering it in this body and in this, cellular memory. So, um, we're tapping into the imagination, and that's why a lot of people feel like it's such a wild ride because you let it actually flow and you let the information come in. So we relax the body, we relax the mind, and we just get into a lower brainwave state. So very similar to what you do with your theta work. Ideally, I try to get my clients to that theta brainwave level because that is the part where you go through it naturally twice a day. Once when you're just waking up, barely conscious, and the other when you're just falling asleep, barely aware. So that right in between sweet spot where you can relax and let the ego go and allow the subconscious mind to play the bigger role. So we do that part through a script and activating the imagination, activating the visual parts of the brain, the senses, because that's how we experience things in this human body is through our senses. So I always say, whatever comes up for you, whether it's a smell, whether it's something you see, you might hear something, or you might just get an instant download of a bunch of information, which is how things come to me. I'll get an image, and then suddenly I know everything about it. And I have
I
no
do that
idea how
too.
I know. Don't ask me how I know this, but suddenly, but that's trusting that that's how you receive information and going with it. So then I will guide the person to a different time, a different place that's relevant that the subconscious mind wants the person to explore because there's something there that's important for them to see that would help them with whatever it is that's going on in their life now. Because again, everything's connected.
I love that. I love that.
Yes.
I love that it's all connected. And I remember when we were first starting, and I think sometimes people get tripped up, maybe, or I don't know, maybe they don't, but that if you've never done work where you're getting to know yourself and the way you do things, um, I think a lot of people assume that what you get is images and things like that. And I know a lot of people that and well, and I was included in this many years ago, that I didn't know that smells were part of it. I didn't know that sounds were part of it, and that everybody downloads differently. You know, I know what I'm used to, so I assumed that's what I would do it the same way, which mine is usually images and feelings. Um, so I assumed it would be some kind of image. But I think people that have never done something like this before, maybe they worry, and I worried as much as I do this and as much as I trust my intuition and all the things, that I'm like, what if nothing happens? And I don't know if I ever voiced that to you before we started, but there was a fear in me that I'm like, what if nothing happens? What if all this is really made up and that when I close my eyes, I don't see anything?
Yes.
What do I do? Am I broken? You know, what is
Yeah.
happening if that happens?
Well, I imagine that everybody has some sense of self-doubt, especially when you're going into something like this that you've never done before. That's not normal. At this point, it will become a normal thing soon. I believe it. But we all have a little bit of that self-doubt. Can I trust myself to go deep enough to let go fully with some person and be fully vulnerable? I think a lot of people have a misconception when it comes to hypnosis, and they think that, what we've seen in the past of those that perform on stage and they pull the person's arm and the person sleeps and then wakes up quacking, or that they follow a stopwatch and, or, a pocket watch and fall asleep. That's not at all what this is. And that misconception is there. And I'm hoping that by speaking about it, people understand that this is literally something you do for yourself. I'm not putting anybody under. It's, are you going to relax? Are you going to be open and be vulnerable to allow the necessary healing to come, the highest healing to come? Are you blocking yourself? And I've had clients do that. They came here thinking that I was the one healing them, and I tried multiple sessions, multiple techniques, just in anything I could. And when they left, they were like, dang it, CeCe, I thought you were going to fix it. And I was like, oh, that's why you put it all on someone externally. You thought someone outside of you would fix you, but I'm just guiding it. So the person has to be aware that they're coming in to do this for themselves, just as you were knowing that, okay, I'm doing this, but can I? Will I let myself open up? Is this all real? Is this not real?
Yeah. And that's true because it kind of, for me, it goes back to that societal hang up that
Mhm.
first of all, when I start talking about spirituality, people assume I'm a witch, which why does everything have to go to that point? And there's such a
Yeah.
negative connotation. And, for all intents and purposes, yes, but not the way
Mhm.
you think about what a witch is and all the things.
Yeah.
But anyway, and I think people, when you say that you're a healer, that has a weird connotation as well, because some people understand if they've had any experience with it, you start to, once you start getting into it, in my opinion, you start to go, oh, I get it. But when you're looking at it from the outside and you hear somebody say they're a healer, I have to kind of go, I'm not God. I'm not trying to say any of that's not what this is
Yeah.
about. I'm working with him,
Mhm.
but you are actually doing this yourself. And I think that is actually the more I get into this, and I think that's been my hang up with my own business or the things that I'm doing is that I struggle to say the words properly to get people to understand that I am not going to heal you. I'm going to help you find your path to heal yourself. I'm going to help you open your mind. I'm going to help you look at things differently and find those moments that, that conditioning from when you were 3 years old,
Yeah.
it's what's messing with you now, and help you change that way of thinking.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of listening and guiding you. You're
Mhm.
doing all the work. And that is so hard to explain to people
Yes.
for them to truly understand that we're not healers in that sense of the word, in that sense of you go to a doctor, they give you
Yeah.
medicine, you feel better. But even then, if you don't take the medicine, if you don't do what the doctor says, if you don't do the things you're supposed to do, guess what? There's, yes, there are things that you can't control, but there are things you can. And if you don't do those things, then nothing's going to change.
Exactly.
So it took me a long time, even once I was kind of into what I'm going to call the healing world. It took me a while to really figure that out. And I'm still trying to figure out how to say it to people where they understand it, you know?
Yes. And this is, I feel it's all new speech and vocabulary that we're using. When I use the word quantum, I have to remind myself that not everybody is aware of this. This is a brand new fad word that's coming about. And do people quite understand it? No, but I'm going to keep using it because it is becoming a little bit more common as we go. Um, but are people connecting to this stuff yet? How do we explain it in a way that is in alignment with where they are in
Yeah.
their level of understanding?
Yeah. And I think two things that came up when you said that. One, I think you've got a lot of people too that they latch on to the fads. And when they say quantum, that's not what that means. That's not,
Right.
you're using it just because it's a fad. Um, and then I forgot what my other thought was, but it'll come back to me. But yeah, sometimes I wonder oh, I know, talking about how people um they're curious. That's kind of been my whole thing. People are curious. And so I guess I'm trying to find a way to just say, "Hey, what is it that you want to know?" And
Yeah.
let me try to explain it to you. Ask me the questions. You're in a safe space. What do you want to know? And how can we kind of bridge that gap between the conditioning and the fear and all the things to let you explore? And you may take a step in and say, this is not for me. And that is fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. But the knowledge of what you now know is never going to be a bad thing,
Hmm.
So, yeah, that whole thing is just, it's such a struggle to figure out how to speak the words and really help people understand because they're curious, they're just scared to ask.
Yes. And I've been people will message me quietly and be like, what do you mean by this? Or what does this mean? And what kind of work, what do you mean? That's what I keep getting a lot. And these are the younger generation too, asking me these things. And they're curious. They always have been curious. I taught high school for well over a decade, and those kids were sponges anytime these types of topics would appear in any of the curriculum or just in conversation. They want to know, how do I help myself? Because what my environment has taught me isn't quite enough. It doesn't get me where I really want to be for myself. So they are curious, and they are the ones that will take that information. I feel like each generation, each newer one gets more and more open and more curious, and less obedient to the structures that we've created for ourselves, right? They're the ones that are asking the tough questions that we didn't when we were their age.
Yeah. And I know for me, I mean, I'm Gen X, so we're a little bit older and we came from that generation. I don't want to say hard knocks, but we were left a lot to our own devices and we were left to figure it out. Figure it
Yeah.
out. That's what we were told. But yet there was the conditioning, there was the structure, there was the what you're supposed to do, all the, a friend of mine calls it the shoulds in life, all the things you should do. And a lot of Gen X just kind of, we went, it is what it is, in a way, that this is just how it is, and we just kind of figured out how to cope. And I think I'm seeing more and more people, from my generation, that are starting to go, wait a minute, and really question it
Yeah.
and try to figure out how do you reconcile what you were taught with what you weren't,
Yes.
and what and not, I know this is going to sound, this may sound crazy, but there's a hard ass element to a lot of Gen X people, that
Yes.
it's like they're kind of, there's this toughness, there's this, and you don't want to go soft, for lack of a better way to say it. That probably sounds really bad, but that's the truth of it, that you've reached this point, you've grown, you've learned, you've done all these things, and now we're kind of older going, wait a minute, I don't, do I have the energy to just restart and try to
Yes,
undo some of this?
unlearn
And
all of what you created. I mean, for
yeah,
years you built up this fortress of obedience and ways of living, and then suddenly things shift in your mind, and you have to start breaking that down. That's many years of that. And
yeah,
yeah, that's a challenge, but that is the task. That is the task for everybody, is to be aware and then to start unlearning those things you've become aware of that you realize don't serve you, that don't serve where you are now. Maybe they did in the past, but our ways of thinking, I mean, the one thing that stays the same is the fact that everything changes. So how can we stay set in our ways from childhood when we're not children anymore? How can we,
yes,
stay set in our ways out of the country from hundreds of years ago when we're not that anymore?
yeah,
Change is the one constant. And so we have to be ready to unlearn and relearn all the time. All the time.
yes, yes. And I think that's and to me, one of the big things lately, and I think we talked about this earlier, so when we say the veil is thinning, I'm not sure if people even understand what that means, but the veil is getting really thin. So there are things that, I mean, I see them all the time, you see them all the time, that to us they're like, oh yeah, that's normal. But there's other people going, wait a minute, why am I seeing
Yeah.
this? And I don't think they fully understand what we mean that the veil is thin. But to me, it's really just that there are other dimensions, y'all. There's other stuff going on, and we're starting to be able to see all of that. And I think a lot of, and I don't want to get political at all in this, but there's just a lot of lies that have been told, and not just in our personal lives. I know there are things that I've talked about this on other podcasts, that lies that were literally told to me by my family to hide my heritage and all the things I can do. That all that was hidden from me when I was a kid. Didn't find any of this out until I was an adult. Um, so that's just a personal level, and then when you start taking that, it's global, because everyone has an agenda, everyone has a reason for what they're doing, why they're doing what they're doing. And so I feel like a lot of that is just changing now, where we all we're seeing through the bullshit, basically. I don't know the only way to say
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I think things have to continuously get worse and worse so that those that are, and I'll use the term like asleep,
Yeah.
even those can see it, the obviousness, the corruption. It has to get worse and worse. And that's why we're like, why can't people see what's going on? But it's necessary. It's all part of the bigger scheme of things and the collective consciousness, the collective awakening and shifting. It's all part of it. And we're
Yeah.
watching it happen. And so it's exciting to watch those that, you know, would not have ever considered these things actually start speaking about them now and voicing what doesn't feel right anymore and saying, I won't stand for that anymore.
Yes.
It's the shift is happening, but it might look a little rough before
Yeah.
we're on the other end of it.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. I know we've talked about this before for sure that some of us, I know a lot of people don't believe that there's more than one lifetime, but, then there's some of us that are going, yeah, I think we've done this before. And I don't know
Mhm.
why in the world I signed up for this one. I don't know what the heck I was thinking
Yes, yes.
to be in the
Yep,
middle of the civil unrest. Good job. Good job.
right. Yeah, I think that when I finally connected with the idea of reincarnation and multiple existences at once, um, that completely shifted the game for me. And then the more I met other people, it was like an instant knowing that we've done this before. I've known you before. I've gotten glimpses into pasts with those people, and it's so special. It is so, there's no word, right? There's no word that captures the feeling and the emotion that when you meet somebody again, when you have that reunion in this lifetime, it's more than words. It's an emotion and it's strong right now.
Yeah.
But it completely shifted the way I thought about everything. That if we're doing this for each other, we're coming in each lifetime to help each other, to play characters for each other, for the sake of each other's own growth. That, you and I have likely done this many times together and worked together in sharing information, and we're going to keep doing it in all these different lifetimes. But I can understand where people are shielded from the idea of reincarnation and they think that that's only meant for one specific person, and I completely understand. Um, but we are all here to experience all of it.
Yeah.
And our souls exist on multiple levels, multiple dimensions, and multiple realities, and on and on and on. It's so infinite that it is really hard to grasp the complexity of it.
Yes.
But you can tap into any of these lifetimes that you exist in simply by going to that theta state of mind and allowing yourself to open up, and literally reach out and pick and choose whichever lifetime you want to explore and look at it and examine it and take something from it. That's the beauty of this quantum work.
Yeah. That is so neat. One thing I wanted I wanted to touch on real quick when you talked about how we felt like we've probably done this together. I wanted to I've noticed that a lot lately, especially that I will meet people that first of all, I believe that we're building community at a quicker rate right now. Like we're meeting people we're supposed to meet and they're part
Yes.
of our community and whatnot. And it is so fascinating to me that I met you and then another person in your circle that we've met or that you're good friends with and then well, Felicia, who is in another episode down at Sacred Bloom. And when I met all of y'all, there was an immediate just I dropped into this place that I felt like I had known you for years and I've known you for 5 minutes.
Yes.
And it was the weirdest thing in the world because I feel such a connection to all of y'all as if I thought back, I could actually literally remember something that we did 10 years ago, which is not even possible,
Right.
but I feel like, but yeah, it probably is because there's something there that there's a reason that we're all finding each other again and whatnot. But I think that comfort level, I didn't understand that for a long time, how I could immediately drop into a comfort with people. And now I'm like, it's got to be that we've known each other before.
Yes, it's a recognizing. Like I
Yeah.
remember you. I recognize your soul because that soul is the same in all of the bodies that you've physically inhabited. And that's what we connect with is this the soul, the spirit of each other, not the physical aspect. You know, when we reach into each other's energies, we're like, oh, hey, good to see you again. It's been a while. And then
Yeah.
suddenly you're best friends forever. And it's
Yeah.
like you never missed a beat, even though you had to go all these years in this lifetime.
Yeah. I just think that's really cool. But, and I found that, one of a friend of mine that actually knows my husband, and it's a long story, but anyway, she's always talking about how he and I have to be twin flames, which I don't know that I ever believed in twin flames, but it's true. There was a comfort level I had with him when I first met him, and we just have this weird if other people see it, it's weird that, we're thinking alike a lot of the times, and we just, I don't know, we just have this sync that is just that we've had kind of our whole relationship. And as we got into a lot of this discussion and whatnot was when I said, you know what, she's probably right. I think we're probably together. We've probably been together multiple lifetimes, probably just had to find him. So but there's something very, very comforting about that, just knowing that, besides that it's all connected, but then when I realized that, it truly is, and there's a comfort that, there's people out there that we all have that connection, and we're gonna be there for each other in this lifetime, just like we've been in
Yeah.
other lifetimes. That
Yeah.
is, um, do you, okay, I feel like I want to talk about my session I did with you. It was weird. It was not what I expected was going to happen at all. That is
That's
not at
why I
all.
always say don't come in with any expectations because neither of us is driving this ship. Neither of us is going to be able to dictate where this goes until we actually are in it.
Yeah. And I remember, okay, I have to know if this is normal, and I can't believe I'm admitting this out loud, but, well, no, who cares? My, the lifetimes I saw, let's see, I saw three, I think. None of mine were human, which was the thing that threw me the most, I think. I
Yeah.
went, what the heck? What, how, has that ever happened to anybody else? Or is it just
Yes.
me?
So it's really funny when people ask me like, oh, did someone go to a past life? And I'm like, oh, well, you mean on this planet or as a human? And they're like, wait, something else is actually in existence? Okay. But yes, people go back to many different types of beings. For us to consider the fact that we only exist in human bodies over and over is so limiting. It's so limiting. Um, my first regression, I don't normally speak about it, but we recorded it. It's on YouTube somewhere. I also wasn't fully human. I was a hybrid of sorts and was like 8 or 9 feet tall and very, very cool to experience being in a body where I was actually long and really tall because I'm short in this one. And so it felt weird, but I knew that there was so much more, especially after that one. But I've had many people go to mythical creatures, which I've read about in Dolores Cannon's books and would think, wow, like this is expanding my mind so much, considering that these things are real. And we've got lots of evidence here, a lot of it hidden, but lots of evidence that these things exist. But we in these bodies are only aware of so much frequency. So we can only see so much because we're limited. Um,
Yeah.
but I've
Yeah.
had people go to animals, mythical creatures, beings not from here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it
That,
was. not unnormal, but I also will say what is normal.
Yeah. Certainly not anything I'm gonna do. But because I remember when we first started, you were like, "What do you see?" And I'm not gonna lie. And somewhere in time, even though I was very much in that theta place, I was in a really good spot. I panicked for just a minute
Mhm.
because I was like, "There's nothing here. There's nothing. There's just black. What does that mean?" And I remember kind of freaking out that I was like, "Oh God, what? Why?" And so I think I had to tell my mind, look, settle down. You're good. Just relax. Let it come.
And sometimes it takes the higher self a minute to drop you into the first thing you need to see. Things don't always go according to plan, and I hate saying plan because there never is a plan. Um, things can shift and change in a matter of a second. So it might have been just your higher self saying, "Oh, well, maybe let me start her with this one first." And it
Yeah.
just took a matter of like digging through the files to pull it out.
Yeah. That was, because I'm trying to remember. I think my first one, which shocked me but didn't shock me, was a dragon, which,
Yeah.
um, I have a lot of, my spirit guides. A lot of my spirit guides are dragons. There's just more and more showing up, which is
Mhm.
interesting. When I drop into that place, and ask to see my spirit guides, sometimes there's a new one. Then I'm like, oh hi, who are you? But so I thought that was interesting because I know we've had that conversation that multiple people are having dragons show up.
And even more after your session, it became abundant very quickly. Just the amount of people who not only were telling me that they have connections to dragons, but it was showing up in their regressions too. It was showing up as guides for them, even myself. And asked me 5 years ago if I would have thought any of this was real, and I would have probably laughed in your face. And so now to be speaking about the fact that I have literally spoken to them through clients is wild, but it is so exciting that they're connecting and they're coming through and they have a really important information for us because now's the time for it. Now's the time for us to reconnect.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And it was so neat. That was such a freeing feeling. Um because at first I think I remember, okay, there's a dragon, and then I was seeing through the dragon's eyes. So it's like I was just sort of flying around, and it felt so strong, but then it felt peaceful, and yeah, it just felt so freeing, and to just be able to fly around like that was very
And
interesting.
you were
So
flying around like a planet. It was almost
yeah.
like you were protecting it. And you said it was shaped like an egg. I remember
Yeah.
that being so significant. That's such a big symbol of creation,
Yeah.
new birth.
Yeah.
Um, and the dragon was blue too.
Yeah.
Right. That was so beautiful.
Yeah, it was neat. And I love to, I remember because we were trying to figure out, are they male or female? And I was kind of both because there
Yeah.
was no, um, it's like both energies were balanced. Both
Yeah.
masculine and feminine energies were, so it wasn't so much about it was more about the energy of it versus what you would call, the sex of it, or a gender, or
Yeah.
whatever you would want to classify that as. It was just a very balanced feeling. But yeah, that was neat. That's an image that I don't know will ever leave my head. That was very neat. But yeah, I still can't believe that I was never human. I was
In none of them. And I have some clients that they drop into a lifetime and we get to explore multiple times in that lifetime, kind of gradually moving through it all the way to the end of the life. But like your session, you kind of jumped from one lifetime to another, to another, to another. And
yeah.
when that happens, what I have found is that we're meant to look for the patterns that occur over and over in each of those lifetimes because that's the message for you is what kept coming up despite what lifetime it was.
Yeah. I don't know what pattern well, I feel like pattern might have been some family and community. I'm trying to
Yeah,
remember
and I
back.
think pride was another, pride and power. showing you that you have so much to be proud of, and how powerful you are in any lifetime that you go into.
Yeah. Some of those were crazy. And I remember, and this is the one that I'm always like, do I want to say this out loud? But because there was one that was reptilian, and in the session I'm thinking, really? Reptilian? Because there's a lot of negativity that goes
Yeah,
around reptilians, and I'm all, does that mean I was a bad guy?
right.
But I don't think it's that. I honestly really, as and maybe I was trying to make myself feel better, but it was one of those where no, there's all different kinds of energies in every being, and that yes, that's part of my past, and that doesn't make me a bad person. That doesn't. I'm
Yeah.
still who I am, you
And
know.
I like to ask the higher self why they show those specific lifetimes to you. Like, what's so important about that one? And I remember for the reptilian, it was to show you that they do exist and that not all are bad. Because as this reptilian, it was so cool to see you put it together that that's what you were, looking at your feet and then your body. But you were, the word proud came up in that one too, about like, I'm proud of the space that I have, that I've created in my little cave or whatever I'm doing here. And I'm just existing. Like, there was no agenda that we followed. There was no like job that you were doing. You were just living. You were eating the big berries, and taking care of your own space. And you
Yeah.
were proud of that space. And then there's times in this lifetime you're proud of what you've created too. So it's a crossover.
Yeah. And I think there's time, and this is just hitting me right in a second, that it's it's bothered me, or I've struggled to reconcile the quote unquote witch thing in my life, because that's some research I've done. Again, that's stuff we talked about other times, and we'll talk about another time. But some of the stuff in my lineage with my grandmothers in particular, and that I had to I had to reconcile that. Am I a witch, and what does that mean?
Right.
And that it's not a bad thing. As I traced that energy back, they were healers. They were called witches. It became something negative, but that was partially because they were offering people help. But then
Yeah.
you had people in power that did not want them to do that, and so it's very typical. But I've really struggled with that side of myself, I guess. And so and I did wonder after that, if, or I guess I figured that part of it was showing me that sometimes what we are, or what we're labeled as, isn't real,
Right.
you
I've
know.
met many, many women who have this quote unquote like witch wound, including myself, this fear of public humiliation, of being ridiculed for the gifts that we possess beyond our choice. And in one of my sessions, this client's higher self was saying that she and I had done this type of energy work for lifetimes. And I was like, oh, well, what kind of lifetimes? And they started listing things in caves, in covens, in blank and blank. And I said, oh, so we were witches? And the higher self says, well, what even is a witch? And I was like, you know what, touche, good point. And we had a great conversation about it, that it's literally just a word, a label for using our natural instincts and our natural abilities to heal ourselves and to help facilitate healing for others. Period. That's all it is. But it's been labeled something when people don't quite understand something. It's beyond their level of understanding. They'll quickly label it as evil, as bad, as negative, because their fear has taken over. And instead of trying to take the time to understand it fully, it gets cast out as something bad and not even given a chance. So then labeled with that word witch, which has been given such a negative connotation behind it, that we're stuck in that the fear base still after all these hundreds of years. When are we ever going to get out of that and move past the fact that, like, what a witch is? And we are just natural healers, as is everybody. There is nothing special about any of us. Anybody can do this type of healing, anybody can facilitate it, but you have to first become aware that you possess it to begin with. And are you going to use it? And are you going to use it for the greater good?
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
I think many of us are dealing with that fear still, and we're the ones that are going to step out of it, step over that fear, and say, "This is who we are," and fully expose ourselves. This is who we are. This is what we're here to do. Let us help you. You can do this too. It's so many spiritual leaders have done that exact thing. Let me show you how to do this.
Yeah. And I think you're right that there was, when you look back at things like, I know Salem is always kind of that stereotypical place that people go to.
Yeah.
Um, but that was a lot of what happened there. There was a fear with what these women were
Yes.
doing, or you had maybe someone running a town that wanted more control, and they couldn't control these women because they
Yes.
were able to do whatever. But and there are people that are dabbling in dark things, or there is a
Sure.
true witchcraft situation that is very much a dark path to
And it,
follow.
yeah, ego-centered mostly is what it really seems like, and not for the collective.
Yeah. And then I think you have other people that are, even I have a friend or someone I know that she how do you say it properly? She was a Wicca. Is that how
Mhm.
you say it? Which, and there a lot of that was following the cycles of the earth and following nature and
Nature.
using herbs and making tinctures and doing things to heal people
Yes,
with,
and that's what's
yeah,
been practiced for thousands and thousands of years. It's ancient medicine, ancient knowledge, ancient techniques and tools. And then now, because we've been so sheltered and conditioned, that even though people's bodies recognize that and show curiosity, they're quick to be like, "Oh no, that's not what I've been taught. That's not what I should believe," instead of following their own nature, which is, we are nature. We are natural beings, and we exist coherently with the nature around us if we listen to it and if we really tap into it. But
yeah,
instead, we live in the concrete cities with the rubber shoes and the sunglasses, and we cover ourselves from the world and from nature. We protect ourselves, but we're actually hiding.
yeah, yeah. Oh, and it just made me think of something. And you and I've actually never talked about this. I've done a shamanic journey. I was kind of learning about some of that and did a journey one night that actually I've had a couple of journeys with shamanic things and light language and whatnot that brought up a lot of Native American ancestry for me. And actually I do have, I think it's my great grandmother was full blood Native American. So there's a lot of that I think I'm drawn to when it comes, like I said, things with nature and herbs, because that's a lot of what they did was,
Yeah.
they communed with the earth, and they used and were I don't want to say use the earth, that's not appropriate. They had a connection,
Yeah,
and
and worked with it.
we worked together to make this happen. And so I have found that interesting too, that a lot of times, specifically in the shamanic I guess modality, that's not the right way to say it, but a lot of Native American things come up for me
Mm.
when I'm kind of using that. And it really is, like we said before, it's like I'm remembering. It's
Yes.
not as if they're teaching me something. They're just they're making that memory come up for me,
Yeah.
you
And
know.
you might even be tapping into part of your soul that is connected to a lifetime like that. I have
Yeah.
Native Americans come up in many of my sessions. It's more often than not. But I think it's necessary that people are able to connect with it and remember that that is an original knowledge, an original source of information, that was kept quiet and sacred, because it is sacred. Um, and it's kept quiet for a while, but it's time to tap back into that. So I'm
Yes.
glad that you're connecting with it, because it's powerful.
I love it. And I hear all the time, back to basics, back to basics, back to
Yeah.
basics. Just go, stop with all this bullshit that we've brought into it. And like you said, all the kind of concrete and pharmaceuticals and all the things, that's
Yes.
not, just go back to basics, and that's where all the answers are, you
Because
know.
everything that we need for our natural body is already here.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
don't need to remake anything. We need to reconnect with it. That's the problem.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
where we're heading, and I'm so excited to see that.
Yeah. Um, let's see. So I know we talked about the whole connection thing. I guess we could talk about that part of
Yeah.
the
So
regression.
let me look at my notes. The dolphin lifetime. You know what is so crazy? I'm just gonna put this in there, is that part of your regression with the dolphin came up right before the story came out about that guy being kidnapped by a swarm of dolphins and then going to the underworld and building a city for them. And I was like, oh my God, this is so creepy, because Heather's regression
Yes.
literally had something like this. So it prevented me from completely shutting off that story and saying it was nonsense, because I had something to connect it to that I knew was truth.
Yeah. So I guess we should explain that one of my lifetimes was I was a dolphin and we were living underwater. And I think I was the son of the king of that sort of realm, I guess. And that was one of the ones that I saw more of that lifetime
Yeah.
instead of just jumping around. Because the king ended up dying, or I forget what happened, but so I ended up not basically not being a prince anymore and had to kind of learn that that was okay, that I didn't have to have that power. But what's really crazy, and I think we talked about that this day, that I had, and this was years before, so this has been at least 4 years, 4 or 5 years ago. I was in a meditation and just kind of like, okay, what do I need to see? And I was taken underwater, and there was this, I think, I don't remember what it was, some sort of sea creature met me at what looked like gates, but it was just like kind of grass that you went through. And there was this whole underwater world, this whole, I mean, a huge city, not just, I mean, I'm talking like, imagine a big metropolitan city. And it's like there was a shelf over it. So if you were underwater, you would see that, what looked like a seafloor, but it was all underneath there. And there was all these different sea creatures and just sea life. And they all lived in this was their world. And I had seen that years before. So when this
Wow.
came up in the regression, I just went, oh, okay.
Wow.
Alrighty then.
Okay. Something for you to see there. Yeah. But in that lifetime, you were kind of shown like what power really looks like, and that power doesn't necessarily lie in um, authority or hierarchy. It lies in you. What can you do as an individual, whether you have the status or not of power? You still have the power in you. How are you going to use it?
Yeah. And that was very, yeah, those are all things that you need to, or that I needed to see, because, you feel like, again, this business, and part of it is about me telling my story and all these things. And, I have those days where I go, yeah, but what if no one ever listens to the story? Or what if no one ever, and if you don't have that place of authority or that place of power, can you really affect change?
Right.
But you can, you just have to try. So, that was definitely my higher self talking to me there.
Oh yeah, a good message. That was a fun one to explore, because that was one that expanded my mind too. And I was like, oh, I didn't consider that. I never thought about this. And like, that was a fun one.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
and I know that time in that meditation, and this is one thing that, again, I may never forget this memory. The beings would come to the surface of the water, and it's as if they would stand up, And when they would stand up, they would transform into to something that lived above the water.
And that was your meditation?
That was in the meditation. So
That
it
also came up in the regression too.
did
They
it.
were
Oh,
the
that's
shape
right.
shifters.
That's
You
right.
were like, some of them exist outside of the water as well, which this was my first time encountering some sort of shapeshifter in a regression. This was new to me. And I think that is what essentially shifted the power, is that some of those beings wanted others to know that they existed. They wanted to start exposing and waking others up. I don't know where this essentially was. And that's what shifted the power, and they no longer needed someone in leadership because they had kind of branched out.
Yeah.
So something similar to what you saw in your meditation.
Yeah. Because they like wanted to go a different direction. They didn't want to stay hidden, but the people in, I guess the king wanted, they had to stay hidden because that's how they stayed safe.
Yes,
And
yes,
that's why they transformed when they went above the water so that they could be accepted essentially
yes,
by society, that they might be a dog or a horse or a person or who knows, but something
yeah,
that could live above water.
right.
And then when they were done with their day or whatever they were doing, they would come back and transform back and go back down. And
Wild. I love it.
I thought that was absolutely fascinating and so much a metaphor of all of us doing that with the mask that we,
Wow.
I mean, here we are doing all these things, but in my corporate life, no one in my corporate life knows about any of this that I'm aware
Exactly.
of,
Exactly.
two different
But
worlds.
I mean, is that regression, is that lifetime being shown to show that it's time to start saying that, hey, we are also this,
Yeah.
we're this, we're also this. Because there is, like we talked about, that wound, that fear of people seeing us for who we really are, which um is beautiful, and I think we should be seen for our authentic selves, but there's always that fear behind it of judgment, and people are going to call you crazy, and you know but
Yeah.
we're here and we're talking about it, and it's so many people are talking about this stuff now, and um
Yeah.
maybe it is the time that we just expose it.
Yeah. I've started doing more. I've started, I don't temper my language as much, or I go ahead and say it, but I don't and I may not use what I'm going to call full on spiritual language, because sometimes that does turn people off, but I
Yeah.
find sometimes if you can say things in a language that they understand, then you start to go, okay, so you are curious.
Yes. Or you are a little open. I can talk a little more.
Yeah, and then you
Yeah.
kind of, because I told someone that the other day that I said, I'm tired of hiding. I'm not going to be disrespectful to anyone because I do absolutely have people in my life that they don't like this. It bothers them. They don't like it. And so I'm not going to be disrespectful and, you know, start doing rituals in front of them or something like that. But,
Right.
but by the same token, I'm not going to hide who I am either.
Yeah,
But I'm going to be respectful of that and
sure.
not throw something in their face that they don't want to
Yes.
deal with.
Yes. And that's just a matter of respecting others in all aspects from
Yeah,
all people, I'm not going to shove my beliefs down anyone's throat, but I'm going to still be who I am. And if you're curious and want to know, we'll talk.
right, exactly. I mean, that's just being a respectful human. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think it's just time for, I think people have always known that I'm a little different and I'm a little something. And so the truth is, when some of it starts coming out, I swear there are people that go, yeah, I mean, we figured there was something.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
I had friends from high school reach out not long ago and go, "We love seeing what you're doing. It's so you." I was like, I'm still the same person. Like I thought I had, just merged into this whatever I've become. And they're like, "No, you've always been that
You've always
way."
been that. I don't know that that'll be the case for me. I've wondered because I was just very different when I was young. I was very different. Um, but I've always been the artsy person. And I think there's a lot of people that equate artsy, because a lot of times artsy people are kind of flowy,
Mhm.
flitter around, play with glitter kind of people. And so I think there's an association that people make with that, which is not necessarily true, but in my case, probably is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, art is a expression, is a way for you to show who you were without
Yeah.
saying it.
Yeah. So yeah. But anyway, um, but yeah, so the dolphin lifetime was, there was so much more to that one because I was
Yeah.
there longer. I saw more. And then when I associated it back, because as soon as I was there, I remembered the meditation. And I thought, "Ooh, okay, I think this is the same place," you know. So,
Wow.
so that was pretty neat. And then there was the whole "we're connected" thing.
Yeah. That was that was incredible because as you began to experience it, I could feel it. I felt your emotions. I'm an empath, so I just got emotional with you in that moment because of how deep this was for you, that
Yeah,
realization. And I could only imagine what you were seeing based on what you were explaining to me, but I knew it was so much more because, like you said, what words can articulate that?
yeah. And I don't know how to explain it. I guess so what I was seeing was I saw myself, but I sort of was if I remember right, I was kind of maybe a being of light, and there was kind of this beam of light that was coming kind of out of my, so we'll say out of my stomach area,
Yeah,
but it went out and it connected to another being beside me. And it's almost like it went through them and went to another one and another one and another one. And I don't mean through them, I mean it connected. And it just kept going and kept going. And as it would keep going, it was lighting up this area past me to where it ended up being almost just pure white light. But everyone, every being was connected by this beam of light. And that beam of light, that's what's hard to explain. The beam of
yeah.
light, I think, was just pure light consciousness.
Mhm.
That's all I've got. I don't know how to,
Like what we are at our purest form is
yeah,
light.
because it felt
And
so peaceful and so pure and so exciting. Like
yeah,
it felt, you almost vibrated with it because it was just so, you couldn't wait to touch someone and give it to them.
wow.
You know, it was just, oh my gosh, I still can't explain it properly, but and I was just overwhelmed and overcome by the peace and the understanding that it's connected and everything's going to be okay.
Yeah, I think that was the exciting part of it because, things develop really slow in these regressions. It's like piece by piece by piece. And then normally at the end, we kind of put it together. But watching you put it together in that moment, this was the part where we were connecting with your subconscious mind or your higher self. Um, and it started out with just the light in you, and you were like, oh, because I think the question was about this your lineage,
Oh
and
yeah.
the healers and what was the connection there. um and it went really slow, like then it was just the light went just to one other person. You were like, oh, wait a second, I'm connected to somebody else, and then they're connected and you're like, wait a second, oh my god. And that's what you just kept saying is, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, like what, as it was like almost expand, the view was getting bigger and bigger and wider for you, and you were seeing more and more people getting lit up, and you're like,
Yeah.
it's everybody, it's everything, it's all connected, it's the consciousness of everything. And
Yeah.
that was such a cool moment. But I think even before then we were talking about your presence here, and it's one of its purposes for your body being here as this portal, and you
Yeah.
physically are connected to more people than others are.
Yeah, because something happened, and I've talked about this before, that when I did my very first theta session, my friend Gina that taught me, I guess she's my mentor. I don't know. But she, one of the first things she said, she goes, "Oh, you're a portal." And I was like, "And what does that mean?" I don't understand. But but yeah, I've come to understand that there's a lot of energy that apparently literally transports, I guess, through my body. Using this being as a way to transport energy. And I think sometimes beings, like, we're helping them move kind of from one dimension to another or whatever. Which is just a weird thing when you say those things out loud.
Yep.
When you say things like this out loud, I know people go, "Uh-huh. Y'all, it's real. It's happened."
Yes.
Um I
No,
asked my
people can.
I asked my husband one day. I said, am I crazy? Like, you've watched all of this. Am I crazy? Is this real?" And he said, if I had not witnessed some of the things that have happened to you, I might would say, okay, yeah, I don't know. But he said some of the things that have happened and the fact that you've said things, you've done things that there's no other explanation for it because it's things you didn't know, it's things you didn't, whatever.
Yeah.
He said there's really no other explanation for it. So,
That's what makes people believers is when they start to go through those unexplainable moments. And I think, I was a skeptic for a very long time. Even when I started doing this work, I questioned, is, my client really getting that information? Is this stuff really real? Because it sounds fictitious. It sounds made up. And the more clients I regressed that didn't know each other, but were um, finding the same information or going to extremely similar lifetimes. And I don't dictate any of it. I have no choice of where the person goes and explores. That's when I started realizing something's here. And if I don't stay open-minded to it, I'm going to miss it. And there's important information that's coming through multiple people. Like, for example, the dragons. I mean, multiple people have experienced lifetimes as dragons. And I could have brushed that off and said, this is bogus. This can't be real. This is what comes in storybooks, not real life. But why would someone choose to make that up and in such detail that like books wouldn't have ever described? Um, that's what's really led me to believe every single thing that comes through now, because why not? When all the information is the same, or it even matches what other hypnotherapists have discovered, and
yeah. We
there's
can't
information
all be
there
making up the same thing.
for
We can't
sure.
all be
People
making
who
up.
don't know each other,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah, this work has been life changing for me. I feel like after every single session, I have to sit with that information and go, man, I have to rethink everything. Everything I thought I knew, I now have to shift and open my mind to that possibility as well.
Yeah.
And a lot of the lessons and messages that most of the clients need to receive are things that I also need too. So I've been getting my own healing through hearing other people's experiences and watching their lessons too. So that has been a gift in itself.
That's really neat. I think that really shows that because to me we do have a creator, we have a God, and I think that shows that it is all connected and part of a plan. And I want to make sure that I clarify something. I don't maybe people have already understood this, but CeCe does not lead you when you're going through a session. She really does let it happen. She may ask you a question to kind of, okay, but when I say a question, okay, where are you now? What do you see? What do you look like? When you look at your hands, what do you see? Are you wearing clothes? What do those clothes look like? Um, that kind of thing. So they are by no means leading questions. It's just tell me what you're observing. And so, for people that are skeptical going, oh, well, she's probably, that's not what's happening at all.
Yeah.
Because I can remember one time it was, well, are you, look at your body. What do you see? Are you wearing clothes? And it was like, no. And then I had to figure out, I'm like, I have a little belly, and,
Yeah.
stuff like that. That,
Yeah.
but I think it's just really more encouraging you to look around and describe, because you're seeing it and you're not. sometimes you're not realizing, oh wait, I need to talk. I need to say I need to say what it is that I'm seeing. I would forget that. Oh yeah, I need to be telling her what I'm seeing. Um and so sometimes it was just okay, where are you now? I'm in a room. Okay, what's the room look like? So there was never that leading of do you see this thing,
Right.
I just felt like that needed to be clarified because I know a
Yeah.
lot of skeptical people that would be like, I wish she probably told you what to.
Right. And thank you for clarifying that because I don't make any suggestions in any way. And I
Mhm.
always let that be known that I'm not going to be like, oh, well, you're no longer going to crave sweets. You're no longer go. That is not my job to
No.
tell you what not to do. It's your job to discover uh through your own journey. And my job is just simply to ask the questions because I'm not in your mind when you're going through that past life. So I want to know everything about it. So I'm kind of like the investigator and reporter. That's the
Yes.
job I take is I'm like an investigative journalist. I'm going to take notes and I'm going to ask all the questions and I'm going to ask how you feel, what emotions are coming up because I'm trying to help you discover it on your own. So I don't ever make suggestions or tell you what to see. Um, it's all question guided.
Yeah. And then I find because Cece's taking notes kind of the whole time. Because when we're done, we do kind of a debrief or whatever, and or whatever you want to call it, and so it's a really good way because you're just in it and you're not. There's a lot of those things you may not even remember.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of moving fast at times, or you've jumped from one lifetime to another. So the first one you've forgotten parts of it. So it's almost like a summary. Cece then can take what she wrote down and sort of summarize it back. And I remember the higher self um portion. That was another one of those times where I'm still doubting myself, going, is this just going to be my ego talking? Like, what's happening? There were things coming out of my mouth that my brain had not formed, if that makes sense to
Mhm.
anybody. That I don't know where that was coming from. Well, I know where it's coming from. It's coming from my higher self. But there was one point that I said something and I went, oh my gosh, that really was my higher self because I have no idea
Yeah.
what I just said.
Yes, yes. That's the fun part. I love that. And I am the person I like to try to control what I'm seeing if I'm in a regression too. And when I had someone working on me, when I got to the higher portion self, I thought there's no way because I'm too conscious. I'm well aware of what's going on. There's nothing she can ask me that my ego isn't going to answer. And I allowed myself to relax. And by the time we got to that point, I was saying things and I remember answering her and going, "Ooh, she does not like that answer." And I was like, "This is not me speaking, but it's me." It's almost like you're not in control of the words that are coming out, but you're watching yourself do it and you're
Yeah.
physically doing it and you're aware. But if you allow that part of your conscious mind, Dolores Cannon calls him Mr. Stupid. It's the part that tries to analyze and control and answer questions because it's what your desires are. When you allow Mr. Stupid to just watch from the corner, you'd be surprised the answers that come through because typically it's not what you would have thought you would have said.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're not, because here's the truth. And for anybody that thinks you don't have control, you do. You're in kind of, like you said, that state of consciousness when you're about to go to sleep. You know how you feel where you almost feel like you don't have control of your body and you don't have control of what's going on. But the reality is you could snap yourself back into consciousness if you wanted to. That's how it is. No one's controlling you. No one is.
Right.
You are in control of your body. You're in control of your mind. You're just simply allowing it
Yeah.
to kind of drift a little bit. So if you wanted to, which I do not recommend you do that, you could snap yourself back into full
Yeah.
consciousness if you wanted to. But that's not the point. The
Right.
point is to allow yourself to be in that space. And some of that is trusting. CeCe's obviously very someone that is very safe and you feel like you can trust. So that can sometimes, I think, hinder people if they don't trust the person they're
Yeah.
working with. That's
Because you are in a vulnerable state.
mm-hmm.
You are basically sleeping while someone's speaking to you, and you have
Yes.
to trust that, they have your best interests at hand. And I do find that like 90% of my clients are quite conscious throughout the whole thing. I only have a few people who are capable of going completely under and coming out not remembering a single thing. I'm finding that most people can hold themselves in both, which
Yeah.
is impressive because through my training with Dolores Cannon, um, she would always preach that most people aren't conscious. And now it's like the opposite. Things are changing. People are waking up more, allowing themselves to be more vulnerable,
Yeah.
while still being aware. And it's,
Yeah.
are you able to teeter on that line and hold it? And like you said, you can easily snap yourself out of it. But if you can relax your body and stay in it, you can remember a lot
Yeah.
of the things that you experience, and you can hold on to those emotional imprints that they make on you.
Yeah. Because part of me wishes I could be fully under because I feel like it would bring out more because my ego would not be in play at all. But
Yeah.
by this same token, like you said, those memories, when I go back to that moment of that connection that I saw, y'all don't understand it. I'm right back in that emotion. I'm right back in that place. And it's just so, it is such a place of peace and loveliness that I don't ever want to forget that. So, and if I hadn't been, you know, somewhat conscious, I wouldn't have been able to remember all of that. So, yeah. Yeah, I guess there's a double-edged sword there, two ways of thinking. But
Yeah.
it was definitely I'm glad that that's the way it went. And I will tell, I want to say this too. I struggle when I meditate that I'm tired and I fall asleep. So I've often woken myself up because I don't fall hard asleep, but I kind of fall asleep enough that my head lolls or something. And
Yeah.
that's what wakes me up. And I know I had that fear too, that I was like, she's going to start talking and I'm going to fall asleep.
And I tell people it's okay, like let yourself. So my mom was actually my first client, my guinea pig. Um, and after the regression, she said, well, I kept feeling like I was about to fall asleep, but I didn't want to fall asleep. So I kept like snapping herself out of it. She kept waking up. So it made the session a little jumpy, but we still had such important information come through. It was beautiful. So for her next session, I said, just let yourself fall asleep. And she did. But her higher self and angels and other people came through, and it was one of the most powerful sessions I've ever experienced. But it was because she let herself fall asleep, and she fully trusted me, obviously, um, to be able to get some very deep information. So I do tell my clients, like, let yourself fall asleep. Like, I've got the techniques to keep you speaking. It's just your ego that's taking a nap. That's really
Yeah.
all it is. Like, you aren't fully asleep. You're just on a different brainwave.
Yeah. It's really it's amazing, like I said, because you go into it, even going into it with those fears, if you just trust and let go, it's kind of amazing. It's pretty mind-boggling what can actually happen and what are not our brains, that's not the right way to say it, I don't think, but what our subconscious, what our spiritual selves, I guess, are capable of,
Yes.
when we allow that to really come to the forefront.
Yeah.
Um,
I
you
mean,
know,
it's honestly just giving yourself permission to try and to tap in, because honestly, you don't even need hypnosis to experience your past lives or to experience any moment that you're looking to. It's the same technique. It's just slowing down.
yeah,
And we live in a very busy world where we're constantly stimulated. And meditating is a challenge. So when you said like you fall asleep, like when I first started meditating, I was meditating in bed before I'd go to sleep. And that's your body recognizes that bed the moment you get in it. It's sleepy time. So I started trying different locations and I started using sound. I listen to different frequencies and I sit outside in the sun, in the rain, and where I'm outside so that I don't fall into that sleepiness. But I had to find what worked for me, and everybody else is different. And meditation can happen at any point. You're washing the dishes, you're running your bath water, you're in traffic. You can
Yeah.
slow the brainwave down, but when you do, I always explain this kind of like an old school radio dial. So like it has like the little orange stick and you're tuning it to different frequencies. That's what we do with hypnosis, and that's what you can do in your own meditations is lowering your brain waves so that you can move the dial, because we're stuck in our this frequency. And when you begin to move the dial, you're tuning into all of these other aspects of you. Which one do you want to go explore? Which one are you ready to align with right now? And that's what I do with the quantum hypnosis, is just allow people to tune their own dials and let the higher self show them. We're going to go to this station today because I think that's important for you to see. And you can do that in your own meditations. It's, you know, self-healing, all
Y-
healing, self-healing.
Yeah. I've done a little bit of that. I have a claustrophobia issue that I've been trying to deal with, and we started figuring out that we think it's coming from some past lives. So I've done some work trying to just reach that point and change that belief at that
Yeah.
subconscious level. But that's been a hard one.
Yeah.
That's been a hard
But
one to
once
let go of.
once you become aware of where that's coming from, what specific lifetime, I think we had kind of asked your higher self about it. They did say it was past life related, being feeling trapped, right?
Yeah.
And once you become aware of it, your higher self can just remove the residue that you're carrying in this lifetime from that one.
Yeah.
Because we're all connected, you are connected to all of your lifetimes, so you're going to experience what's called residue, whether that's like a birthmark, whether that's a fear, a phobia, a claustrophobia, connections with other people. Like you're replaying a lot of the same things because your soul is the same across the board.
Yeah. Goes back
And
to
but
energy, following
it
that energy.
Exactly. And once you acknowledge it, figure it out where it's stemming from, you can release it and it's no longer a bother. That's the magic of it.
Yeah. And I find maybe because it's felt so ingrained for so long that it'll come up and I'm like, "Ooh, there it is." But I
Yeah.
can usually get through it.
Yes.
Every time it's a little different, it's a little better, but it does take a minute to still let go of what we've trained our brains to do,
Yes. Exactly. Your
you
own
know.
conditioning. Yeah.
Now the next one I have to work on is my fear of flying. So we're gonna figure that one out next. So that I can take some trips. But
There you go.
that'll be the next one. But was there anything else that you want to bring up about maybe using a regression or just other things about quantum hypnosis that you want to bring up
Yeah.
to people? Are there any other points that maybe we didn't hit on that you want to bring up?
Yeah. I think a lot of people probably don't even understand like what this quantum hypnosis can be used for. It's not just to explore a past life, like, yeah, that's really cool, and you get a cool story. Um, but this type of work actually helps heal physical ailments, emotional heartbreak, um, mental things. I mean, it's limitless in what this can tap into help with. And so people have come to me with neck issues, and we've discovered they were carrying an energetic tie to a previous lifetime where someone was hanged,
Oh,
and they carried that person's wound. um so once that was acknowledged, just like we talked about, once this comes up and you realize where it's coming from, your higher self can release it. And she has yet to have neck pain since. And it's just incredible that like you can do this own healing. It's your own healing. Like I didn't take the neck pain away. The person did. Emotional wounds of people who are grieving, people who have trauma from this lifetime, other lifetimes. This type of work helps with all of it. So mental, emotional, spiritual, all of those types of bodies can be healed through this work. So yeah, you get a cool story out of it, but it's showing you where something might be connected to.
Yeah. And that's the I actually talked about that in one of the episodes. I was talking a little bit about what energy healing kind of really means, or where it comes from. And, at the end of the day, there's a lot of things you can do to clear negative energies and do things like that just kind of generally make you feel better. But if you don't start digging into the why of
Yes,
what's going on with something, most likely that pattern is just going to keep happening.
correct.
And I've also found that I know I've had this happen with myself that I have found different traumas or events that um, kind of were bringing about a certain emotion or reaction to things. And so I healed one, not fully realizing, oh, well, there's another one. And it was still a little bit, it was still there. And there was just, because it was a little different. And so when I had healed it the first time, it was almost like just another layer
Yeah,
that had to be healed. And, sometimes you can get to kind of that bottom layer and take care of all of them, or sometimes you don't realize, oh, I wasn't at the bottom. So,
exactly.
you still have a few more to go. So,
Yeah.
that
It's
can be frustrating when that happens.
And ultimately, it's to find the root of the issue. And that's what this work does. That's what this type of hypnosis does. It shows you where the root of it is and allows us to rip it out and fill it with fresh dirt, right? So that it
Yeah.
doesn't continue to grow into effect in any way. But sometimes those roots are very, very deep. Sometimes those roots go back to different lifetimes.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. It's just important to keep working at them. I had two that contradicted. That was fun. I had one that was telling me I had to stay hidden in order to stay safe. And then I had another one that was telling me I had to be seen in order to be safe. And I
Mm,
think my mind could not figure out how to reconcile the two things, because the flip side of both of those was danger. So I mean, literal danger. So it was kind of oh. So that took a minute to kind of understand that and try to work on that and change that belief. But then, of course, there was more involved, even other beliefs that needed to be changed and whatnot. So there were just, I guess my point is sometimes you may heal one thing and think, okay, everything's going to be fine now. And that is very much not the
yeah.
case.
Yeah, and another misconception here that people think with healing is it's a one-time thing and it's done. It's a lifetime thing. This whole journey is for healing, it's for lessons, it's for learning. Um, so you can't just do like one thing and then it's over. That might have just peeled a layer back. It might not have actually gotten to the root of things.
Yeah. And so you might, okay, the neck problem, that's great. And that's great to deal with that.
Yes,
Um, but then something else is going to come up later.
for sure.
Um,
You've created space for more to come up, and
right.
that's how it looks. Is you're like, oh, I just went through this and now something else is coming up. Yeah, because now
Because
you
you're
have
healing.
space for it. Yeah, and you
Yeah.
know how to do this work, so keep going, and you're
Yeah.
going to keep going until your last day. But that's what it is to play this type of part in this world. Is we're here to learn and we're here to experience.
Yeah. And not that it gets easier necessarily, because you may uncover a really big trauma that's, pretty heavy, but I think as you go and as you become accustomed to kind of how this works and what's going to happen or what is happening, it becomes easier in that respect that you're like, okay, I kind of know the drill now. I know
Yeah.
what we're doing.
When you have your little toolbox, that's what I call it, my little toolbox of strategies and things I can use anytime something comes up. It's still the same deep emotional impact as anything else that comes up for me. But I have the tools and I know where to go when I'm ready to start moving through it
Yeah.
and unpacking it. Um, and then the support system, and there's so many people like you that I could speak to about things that are going on that could tap into parts of me that I can't when I'm in an emotional state. Because a lot of the times you have to step out of the emotions and see it from an objective point of view before you can see the whole picture and what's really going on and what healing needs to happen.
Yeah, I've had to do that before where I say, okay, I can't figure this out. And then, I call a friend or whatever and they go, well, this is what I'm seeing. I'm like, all right, that's all I needed. And then I
Yeah,
go back and kind of do the work, but I needed someone to kind of remove that layer of ick so that I could find
right.
what was going on. And I also find it's a little bit addictive, and that may not be the right word, but once you start, and especially once you realize the benefits and you realize how it's changing you as a person, it becomes kind of okay, where not that
Yeah,
you're looking for the next thing, but you're looking for the next thing
yeah,
because you're
yeah.
going, okay, what's next?
What's next? I've moved past this. What's
Let's do
next?
it.
Yes.
Or give me a minute. That one was rough. Please God, could we have just like a
A
week?
tiny break. I ask for those often too because they come in like a storm. Um, but yeah, once you know how to deal with it, you're like, it's not as scary when they come and you go, okay, I recognize these emotions. I see what's happening. I'm gonna let myself feel these emotions. That's the biggest thing is I'm going to feel it. I'm gonna move it through my body in whatever way it needs to, whether that's crying, screaming, solitude, grounding, anything to move through it, talking to other people to make sense of it. Um, and then allowing yourself to use your tools to work through it and release it instead of letting it become a hindrance and something that you keep in your shadow bag that you're going to drag around the rest of your life with you. Unpack it, see it for what it is, show it love, and release it.
There you go. Because another one's
Yeah,
going to show up. So you may as well get rid of that
and
one.
you may as well make some room.
And I love when people, you hear them say, I'm just a weepy mess today and I have no idea why. And I'm going, I do. You want to talk about
Yes,
it? I know
I
exactly
know
what's going
you.
on. Because either I've just read you and went,
Yep. Yep.
or, something, as my husband says, what planet's in the microwave right now that's messing with everybody. And
That's
so I'm
cute.
like, yeah, let's go look at the astrology and see what's happening or,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. But yeah, he'll come home and ask me that at times. He'll be, okay, I know it's not a full moon. Is something in the
But
microwave?
yeah, so something's in the microwave.
Yes, something's in the microwave and it doesn't like you.
That's so funny.
But yeah, it's I love watching people though that first time, that first the light bulb going off and them realizing, oh, kind of either I'm not crazy or oh, it's that. Oh, well, I can get
Yeah.
rid of that, and you're like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes. When they realize they have some control or
Yes.
some part in it.
Yes, you don't have to be a weepy mess, basket case, emotional,
Yeah.
pissy, whatever it is. I mean, we've
And
all
it's
been there.
yes, and it's okay to feel that way,
Yeah.
but you can't let it become you. You
Right.
feel it and you release it. That's the important thing is some people will feel it and shove it down and then it creates a monster and it just adds to their shadow and triggers them even more and more. But it's the release that's the most important, letting go.
Yeah. And I will never forget, and I'm aware that this may aggravate some people, but I remember when I first started doing some of this and it was just kind of first learning about it. And the first time someone told me that I was in a victim mentality. Oh, that one triggered. That one hit me hard. And I was like, "What do you mean I'm a victim? I'm not a victim." But the truth is that that is the best way to describe it, and that's where we are a lot of times before we start recognizing that yes, you're angry and you're angry at that person or you're angry at that situation, but why? And
Yeah,
when you start to recognize the why, and it's not that anybody's saying that it's you, it may not be you, it may be someone else, but you're allowing that trauma, that event, that conditioning, that whatever, you're allowing that to control your life. And so, I think the recognition of that is such a big step,
yes,
because the first time that I kind of healed through something and then sort of looked back at it, it just, when I tell you it was, talk about a light bulb, I understood what she meant by victim at that moment. I
yes,
went, oh, I get it now. And
yeah,
it wasn't meant to be a slight. It wasn't meant to say that I was doing, but it's like you're living in a place where you're allowing that thing to control you, and that
yeah,
makes you a victim.
yes. I think that was the biggest shift for me too, was when I realized, oh, like nobody else thinks this of me. It's just me. I'm playing victim here.
Right.
And I mean, that was a game changer, that one moment. I remember exactly where I was. And I was like, no one else is thinking this of me, just me. I'm still in victim mode.
Yeah.
Um, and so my favorite question to ask, like when I'm angry and I'm really heated in my emotions, is hold on, is this me? Like, am I the problem? Am I being triggered? Because this is probably just a normal situation and I'm being triggered by it. So let me figure out, where's this trigger stemming from?
Yeah.
Why is this bothering me so much? Why am I having these emotional reactions to something probably mundane to other people? But am I in victim mode right now? And I got to check myself. And it's like
Yeah.
my favorite thing to do is be like, okay, is this is this me?
Yeah. Yeah. But I know my first thing being having the empathic thing. Usually, my first thing when an emotion rises up really fast is I immediately, well, when I figure it out, I stop and I go, okay, me or somebody else? Oh,
Yeah,
that's you. All right, then what's going
yes.
on? And then a lot of times it's like projecting much or something like that, where
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, you're feeling sorry for yourself. Why are you feeling sorry for yourself? Nobody, you're fine.
yes. Yes.
And I have to kind of talk myself through it, or allow it to just pass. Sometimes it's just a moment of grief, or it's just whatever that I have to just, just write it out. You're allowed to have those. Just sit with it. It's a sad moment. Yeah. Have a good cry. Now we're ready to move on,
Yeah.
but that's when, like I said, the first time someone said that to me though, I was very triggered. I was like, I'm not a victim. I'm a,
How dare you call me victim?
it's like, what the fuck? But yeah, I was very triggered. But then, like I said, and it took there was, it's like that one healing. I can't even remember what it was now. But when I came out on the other side of it, I just went, oh, she was right. Oh,
Yes,
but then
yes.
I totally get it. And then you start to see it in other people, and you don't want to come out and say things like that because
Yeah.
that's rude. And I mean, I would never,
And it
but
might
it's
trigger
like,
them in the same
yeah.
way.
But because you don't want to be rude about it, it's not that. For me, it's like, oh, but if you could just do this one thing, you would feel so much better. And that's what it is for me. I
Yeah.
want you to get past that. I want you to feel better. I want you to live the best life you can live. And if we could heal that, oh, you would just be, you know, and
Yeah.
it's hard to explain that to people that it's like, no, I'm not trying to call you out.
Yeah.
I'm trying to help you get past it where you can then go, oh, and feel better.
Yes. But people have to be ready for their
They
own healing.
do.
There are some that choose to identify with their wounds, and because who am I without it? It's so scary to
Yes.
start to relearn yourself from scratch, and as
Yeah.
you're unlearning everything you thought you knew about yourself and the world around you.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a couple people in my life that they're very they just, I don't know. They kind of, it's become part of their identity, and
Yes.
it's I get it and I get why.
Mhm.
And there's times where I get that is, may be important. You know, I'm a cancer survivor, and so therefore I'm going to tell you my story about how I became a cancer survivor, and that's a great
Yeah.
story of healing and story of helpfulness. And I get why that identity is there, but then are they living in that identity all their lives? And probably not. They're probably just living there when they're in their public speaking
Yeah.
moment, you know. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's hard depending on what the trauma is or what the thing
Mhm.
is. So um yeah, but that's become even harder, at least for me, that I'm looking at people going, "Oh my god, if you could just give me like 30 minutes, I could help you so
I
much."
know, but they have to be ready for it. And there's been parts of my journey where I just wanted to like just
Yes.
get all this information and be like, look at everything that has helped me. Like, let me help you. But um, nobody could have done that to me. My healing had to start when it did. It was the timing and my choice. And it's the same with everyone else. It has to be their choice when they take those steps towards their own healing. Because again, I'm going to say it again, all healing is self-healing. You
Yeah.
can lead a horse to water, but you can't force them to drink. So we
Yeah.
can preach and say all these things and show all these wonderful things, but until someone is ready to dive in, they
Yeah.
might stay in that victimhood.
And the truth is, I think that was kind of what happened with me. I kept showing up in the sort of spiritual world, spiritual classes. So I was learning things about my gifts and how to work with those. And just so I just kept showing up to different classes that helped you with mindset or helped you with whatever. And there was just that one day, like I said, where something clicked. I think we healed something. I'm trying to remember, but I think it just finally clicked where I went, oh, and
Yeah.
just the mindset truly did change at that point,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
that's when it all changed.
Yeah. It's a
But
shift in perspective.
yeah,
The moment you have a shift in perspective, your whole reality changes and you can't go back.
yeah, there's no going back.
Yeah.
But if you keep showing up, there's just and if you're curious,
Yeah.
that's my thing. If you're curious to show up and just see what you hear. And it
Yeah.
may
See,
not be your
yeah.
bag. Like that may theta may not be your bag. It may be you may like Reiki. You may
Yeah.
not be into any of that stuff. You just may want to play with crystals or herbs or I don't
Mhm.
know. But, you know, you'll find your spot when you're ready.
Yeah.
But
And we're here for when those are ready.
yes, yes, that's what we're all here for. Well, before we wrap up today, why don't I'm going to put information in the show notes for like your socials and whatnot. Um, but if you want to do like a quick synopsis of what it is that you do and how people can find you.
Okay. Yeah, so my business name is Insight with CeCe. I do have a website, and you can find me on Facebook, Instagram. I do quantum healing, so it could be through hypnosis, guided meditation, sound bath, and do yin and restorative yoga. You name it. Anything that helps on an energetic level for any kind of transformation, whatever it is that a person is looking to heal, there's ways to target that through subconscious reprogramming. And that is my specialty. That is what I live for, is understanding the mind and how it is created and how we can recreate it through all the different tools of meditating, hypnosis, you name it. Um, so I offer group sessions. I can do group regressions. And include sound baths with that, which just adds a whole different element of energy to the sessions. And then one-on-one sessions as well for regression therapy. Um, so and spiritual coaching in sorts of ways. So I'm here for it all.
Love that. And she absolutely is. It's incredible. It's amazing the things you learn when you start working on yourself.
Yes. Yeah. But you got to start at some point.
You got to start. So I guess we will wrap up for today. And thank you so much for being here. I think this was so much fun. We have to do this
Thanks for
again.
inviting me. Yeah, absolutely, because we can talk for hours about all the things.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. We'll just pick some, I don't know, pick something different next time. Dive into dragons and all those
Yeah,
things next
yeah,
time,
by then
maybe.
maybe I'll have even more. That would be awesome.
Okay. Well, thanks so much. And for everybody listening, thank you for tuning in. And we will see you next time. In the meantime, stay curious. Okay.